Welcome back. And on this one, we will talk about computed properties. Now, I will build a very simple code with you on the screen, and at some point, we're going to hit a problem. Once you understand what the problem is, I'm going to tell you how to fix it with a computed property. But first, you need to understand the problem. What I want to do, I want to add an input, and I want to change a name with the user Francis, let's say. And if it's the name is not allowed, I want to output that the name is not allowed. So we need an input, we need a ref, we need a function, we need a few things. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to create an input right there, input. And since now we know vModel, we can use it. So I'm going to say v and then model equals 2, and we don't have the property. We're going to use it. We're going to create it in a minute. I'm going to create the data ref, and inside we're going to have a user. And right here, I'm going to go and create a line so we can create some separation. And at the bottom, I want to output a message. And I'm going to say message is equals to, and we are going to create a function that will output a message after we evaluate whatever name we input. So now I'm going to go to the setup, and we're going to start with this. I'm going to create a data const data equals to, and we have a ref open and close, and inside we have the user that which is equal to nothing for now. And then I'm going to have we can have a different property which is going to be active and then equal to nothing. I'm going to create that function. Remember, it's called function and then message, just like this, open and close. And then we're going to do this. And this one needs to return if the user it's Francis or it's not. And it's going to be true or it's going to be false depending on the name. So I need to evaluate the data, then the value because we're using a ref, and then the user. And if the user is completely equal to Francis, there we go, we are going to say, well, maybe we're going to say welcome. If it's not Francis, I'm going to say not allowed. Super simple code. I'm not teaching you anything new. Now, since we are creating this, remember, we always need to return, and I'm going to go and say data, comma, and then we need the message function. And now, this should work right now. I'm going to go here, reload the application from the previous one. And for now, of course, it's not allowed. If I do Steve, it's going to be still not allowed. But if I do Francis, we are getting welcome. So, again, this works. Nothing new. I'm going to go back and I'm going to add a couple more things. I'm going to go here and I'm going to add a button. So I'm going to say button, open and close. And inside the button, I'm going to say maybe other action. And this one, it's going to toggle the active property right here. So if you think about this, we need to use a v on, and then we need to do click, right? So click. And this one, I'm going to call it toggle and then active. And this is a different function, completely different function. This, the whole point. I'm going to copy the name of the function, and I'm going to go right here at the bottom. I'm going to say div. And this one is going to be active, and it's going to tell us if it's active or not. And I'm going to say active, open and close. Cool. So now I'm going to need to go to the bottom and create that function which is the same function that message. So function and then is active. Is active is, and I made a mistake. Maybe you noticed is active. We are asking if the property is active or not. So this one is not the toggle active. This one should be is active. Is active. There we go. So now right here, we do the same thing. I'm going to return, and then I'm going to return data, then value dot, and then active. We're checking if active is true or false. If it's active, we're going to return the keyword active. If it's not active, we're going to say not active. Simple as that. And now we need to export everything that we are doing. We created the is active. Going to copy, and we are going to be pasting. And we also created we are using a toggle active function that we didn't create. I'm going to go here and create the function toggle active, and we are almost done. I'm going to go here and open and close. And this one needs to be data. We're going to go to that value, and we are going to take that active equals to, and we just need to change it to true or false. So we can do data value active, and we can use it on a different way. If it's true, well, it's going to be false, and if it's false, it's going to be true. Pretty much the same thing that we did before. So, okay, so we have everything in place. We just need to export this function so we can use it. And now If we go to our application, I'm going to reload it. We are going to click the other action, and we are toggling the active and not active. And if we say Steve, we get the not allowed. But if I do Francis with a capital F, we get welcome. So everything, seems to be working. If I go to the console, we get no error messages. Now, I want to know when these functions are getting triggered. So just to know, I'm going to do a console and then log, open and close. And I'm going to say message, because this is the message function. And then I'm going to say triggered. Cool. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other ones. I'm going to go here to the is active, and I'm going to say active is triggered. So now we know when this function is triggering, and we know when this one is triggering as well. And I'm going to go back to our application. I'm going to reload the application. When the application loads the first time, it's going to run, both functions. That's why we are getting this, because it's just creating the instance. But now I'm going to go to the other action, and I'm going to click it in 3, 2, 1, and I click it. What can you notice? So, well, the message function, it's changing, it's triggering, and the active is triggering as well. But, we are not really using the message function. Why it's triggering the message function? That's the main problem. If I go right here and write Steve, every time I do so, I'm, using the message function, not the active. But still, the application, it's calling the active action as well. So if we use the active function, it's going to trigger both. If I use the message function, it's going to trigger both. Can you see, the problem? So everything, both functions are being executed. And again, this is a problem. What happens if the message, let's say this function that we have right here, is super complex? It needs to go to a server and do something and then come back, and it's not synchronous. So, if you have a lot more complex code, it's running this function every time we need to do something else. It's just, not that good. And this is because, every time Vue updates, when we receive an update for the ref, the whole component, the whole app is going to kind of re-render or update, and it will trigger the function again. That's pretty much what's going on. So we can fix this issue, which is, it's a performance issue, not a problem. Let's say we can fix this with computed properties. To use them, it's just pretty simple. We need to go right here at the top, and I'm going to say compute it. There we go. Just like, we use ref or reactive, we use the compute it. And now we need to go to the functions. And I'm going to go here and say, okay, so this one is a const, and we are calling it message. But now, instead of using it like this, I need to go through the compute it. So compute it. There we go. And compute it, it needs to open and close just like this. This is how it looks without a function. Now inside, we need to, of course, use this function. So I'm going to chop it and then paste it right here. I'm going to make it a fat arrow function. So open and close. So if you think about this, we are we have a property, which is a function, but we are using the computed as a bridge. And now the computed is going to return this, our function, as a callback. I'm going to do the same for the other one. It's going to called function is active. I'm going to say const is active. This one is equal to, then computed, just like that. And then, open, we do the fat arrow function. And then at some point, we close the computed. There we go. And you know what? I'm going to do something like this. Okay, so now we are using computed for both functions. Let's see what happens now. Oh, and one more thing. Since we are using it like this, we don't need to do something like that. I'm going to just remove this, and I'm going to remove that. I'm going to save it, and let's see what we get back. I'm going to reload the application. And of course, on the first render, both will get, called, and that's just normal. But now I'm going to click the other action, and when I do so, magic happens. The active is working, and it's only triggering that function and not the other one. If I go to Francis and I start typing, we get message, message, and message. It's not triggering the active function. So this is what the computed properties will do. When I trigger a function, a different function that is not really related to the property that it's updating, it will not trigger the other functions. It needs to be related to whatever property is that we are using. Like I said before, with this, we can avoid calling functions we don't want to run multiple times because that creates a performance issue if you have very complex operations. If you have something super simple like this, well, maybe you just, don't even bother because this is way too simple. But if it's super complex, you should use a computed property. Now, computed properties are getters, which means that they are read-only. You can mutate from here the value of something, or maybe perform like a side effect, like making a request to a server, but it's not recommended. This is not why we would use or how we would use a computed property. That's fine. We're going to use it much later. Now, I want to move on to the next section, and I want to show you something that's not really related, but it's, kind of the same idea. We also have something called watchers.